Sister and nieces pleaded guilty to taking out another family member, which is the sister of Tamara Geddes, in a case that made national headlines in Trelawney. Hi again and welcome. This is Links 7 TV. Let's talk, and we're about to discuss this on the program. We ask you please remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell and click on all so you're always in tune whenever time we post new videos. We'll be right back after this short break with the details to come on the program. Welcome back and thanks for joining us for the program. This is Links 7 TV. Let's talk. This was a situation that made national headlines last year after a young, promising, and beautiful female life was snuffed out right in her own house in full view of other family members. Now, the family members stated in initial reports that they did not saw anything that transpired to the now deceased Tamara Geddes, but the police have so far carried out an intensive investigation that led them to arrest the sister of Tamara Geddes. Now, this has left the whole entire reserve community in Trelawney in shock based on development that came out of this case after the murder of this female. The sister and two nieces of the female were arrested by police and have so far been charged with their respective roles in carrying out the hit on that female. So, three family members of one family yesterday acknowledged their role in the murder of one of their relatives, Tamara Geddes, by pleading guilty to the charge of conspiracy to murder in the Trelawney Home Circuit Court. Geddes, 36, of Reserve in Trelawney, was murdered at her home on June 19, 2020. Tamara Geddes, who was aged 36, of Reserve in Trelawney, was murdered at her home on June 19, 2020. Three of her relatives, Nadine Geddes, who is actually the sister of Tamara Geddes and is aged 39 years old, Tamara's sister and her two daughters, Shanice Ruddock, 22, and Janae Simith, 16, were among several persons charged in relation to the crime in Trelawney. Now, this is very shocking to see the development that came out of this case, that a sister actually hired a hitman for the demise of her own sister. But it's still unclear what really stemmed this murder that took place in Trelawney. As the community tried to reel from the effects, it's still evidence that this crime was brutal, and the community is still very tense on the new development that came out of this case recently. So Nadine Geddes pleaded guilty before Justice Martin Gale to charges of murder and conspiracy to murder, while Ruddock and Janae pleaded guilty to conspiracy to murder and misprision of felony. Misprision of felony is a crime that occurs when someone knows of a felony and has admitted but failed to inform the authorities, and the authorities in this case would have been the police. So these individuals, they knew about the crime and they remain hush hush on the entire matter, and as the police carried out the investigation, they realized that more people were involved than initially stated in carrying out this crime. So the Trelawney police reported that Tamara Geddes was in her house around 8:30 p.m. when a lone gunman entered the house. He demanded money and then shot her several times in the presence of her daughter. Now, this was what really shocked me in the whole entire matter, that this crime took place in full view of Tamara's Geddes' daughter, and she witnessed the whole entire situation unfolding right in front of her eyes. Might I remind you that during this and while this was taking place, The actual other family members were actually in the house and they were downstairs watching television when this lone gunman went upstairs and shot Mr. Tamara Geddes several times before making his escape. Now, this was what puzzles authorities as they carried out the investigation. Meanwhile, Ruddock, who was represented by attorney at law Ernest Simmet, was released on $100,000 bail, while Nanid and Janae have been remanded in custody until their next court date. According to the attorney representing the accused, it was very clear from the evidence that they knew something was wrong and they knew that their mother had done something wrong, but they did nothing about it. The attorney have also stated that when they return to court on February 22nd, that he'll be trying to make a bail application on their behalf. Meanwhile, Rexon Knott, an individual that was taken into custody as well, and he's actually aged 24, a welder of Norwood St. James, was found not guilty of the murder of Tamara Geddes in the case, as prosecution offered no evidence against him. He was then released from this situation. Three other family members who were charged in the matter were in court yesterday but did not ask to make a plea in relation to the charges of murder and conspiracy to murder. So these individuals are 33-year-old Tashana Young, Owen Irvin, age 55, both of Hampton District, Salt Spring in St. James, and also taken into custody as well was 24-year-old Brian Shelley. They are booked to return to court on February 22nd, at which time Nadine and her two daughters will be sentenced. Now, this I can tell you is a very shocking situation, and it's very sad to see how a female could be so cruel, especially to her own sister. So, following months of intensive investigation, coordinated and investigated across Trelawney and St. James and even Westmoreland and the corporate area, detective arrested and laid charges against the sister of the deceased, and that would have been Tamara Geddes, and she was just 36-year-old. And to make the matters even worse, Nadine Geddes' two daughters, 21-year-old Shanice Ruddock and 16-year-old, were also taken into custody, and 24-year-old Brian Shelley as well, and 23-year-old Rexon Knott, both of Norwood in St. James, and Owen Irvin, a 33-year-old individual as well of a St. James address. Now, when we look on this case and how this transpired, it's very sad to see that this female lost her life in such a tragic manner, and it's still unclear what really led them to carry out this vicious act. Now, this has left the entire community tense since this fateful day, and it was on June 19 at about 8:30 that Tamara Geddes was in her room with her daughter when gunmen entered the house and demanded money. And his demands was met, but however, he still shot Tamara Geddes multiple times. The police were alerted shortly after and she was taken to hospital where she succumbed to her injuries. And this was the end of what led to the demise of Tamara Geddes. But there have been many speculations circulating online as to why the sister wanted her sister out of the game. It is stated, and this is unconfirmed report, that it's over a property that was left by another family member. We cannot confirm that information, but that is what the street is actually stating. And we have not received any substantiated report from the police in relation to the matter or where this stemmed from. But despite what happened, it's still very sad. And we don't even care where it stemmed from, because what transpired here should not have happened. And money was paid to hire a hitman, over $200,000 in total. was actually paid for the demise of Tamara Geddes. Now, the sister of Tamara Geddes' two daughters, who were just 23 years old and 16 years old, were charged in relation to the crime as well. And that is so ironic. That is so sad to see two promising females just in their prime of their life, 23, 16 years old as well. So 16 years old, she would be in school, and now she's actually caught in a wrap of a very serious murder charge that made national headlines across the country. But as the police carried out the investigation, many were hoping that justice would be served, and I believe it has been served, as they will be back in court on February 22nd when they will be sentenced. We'll try our very best to follow this story and keep you up to date with the initial reports and also substantiated reports as well. This is where we're going to leave this story here for now. Thanks for watching. This has been Links 007 TV. Let's talk. You can just drop it in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this story, and were you tracking this story, and are you comfortable with the recent development that came out of this case? This has been Links 007 TV. Let's talk. Peace out, and much respect goes out to you, the viewers, as always. Thanks for watching.